Hey guys, what's up? D. Allen here with Women Throwing Leather. So apparently wishes do come true, because the UFC will be creating a featherweight, 145-pound weight division. Now I think part of the catalyst for this was Cris Cyborg. So because of her last fight, which was at 140 pounds, she went through an extremely difficult weight cut. So because of that, after her fight, she went on social media and kind of preached from the rooftops and yelled for the UFC to create a 145-pound weight class. Well, apparently they've heard her wish, and they are. So coming up February 11th for UFC 208, they will unveil their new weight class. Well, that's easy. Just pull a couple of Bantamweights from the 135-pound weight class. And that's exactly what they've done. So, coming up for UFC 208, Holly Holm will take on Germaine de Randamie. And the winner of that fight will be crowned the new featherweight 145-pound champion. So the basic question is, why featherweight? Why create that division? The UFC always strategically has planning for every decision that they do, and they have very valid reasons for the things that they do, the decisions that they make. The UFC has been wanting to bring her into the UFC for a while. They were trying to pitch this super fight between Ronda and Cris for a long time. But Cris can't make 135 pounds. She can barely make 140. They decided to grant her a wish and make her a 145-pound weight division. Now, after it was announced, social media blew up with a lot of the strawweight and flyweight fighters that are out there across all MMA promotions just asking the obvious question, why featherweight and not flyweight? Because flyweight is actually more needed and more necessary. So there was this huge backlash against the UFC because they created a featherweight division before they created a flyweight division. In my opinion too, I think flyweight should have been created before they ever made a featherweight. For the very basic reasons that it's very needed and it's very necessary. If you look at flyweight versus featherweight in a couple different point of views, it makes more sense practically, reasonably, and financially to create a flyweight division versus a featherweight. And this is why. So last year in 2015, there were over 190 bouts at or around the flyweight weight, which is 125 pounds. So that includes catch weights of 120. That's more than any other weight class in MMA. The point is this, practically, it makes more sense to create a flyweight because the pool of fighters that you can pull from is larger than featherweight. Because the numbers for featherweight wasn't even close to that. What those numbers mean is the majority of the female fighters in mixed martial arts fight at or around 125 pounds. So given that fact, it's interesting that the UFC would choose to create a featherweight division versus a flyweight division, simply because the pool is larger from flyweight. So to fill that featherweight division, they're going to have to dig, and they're going to have to dig deep. So it also makes sense from a reasonable standpoint. Reasonable being a concern for a fighter's health. Now, a lot of the strawweights have voiced their concern on how difficult it is to make 115 pounds. If you know MMA, you know that most fighters, almost all fighters, do not walk around at the weight that they fight at. For example, Cris Cyborg fights at 145 pounds. Her natural walk-around weight is 170 pounds. It means that she has to lose 25 pounds to make 145. When you already don't have that much body fat, that's almost impossible to do. It's really hard to do. And one of the ways they do it is to expunge all the water from their body. You essentially dehydrate the body, which is extremely unhealthy and extremely dangerous. So one of the strawweights that had her weight cut publicized in an Ultimate Fighter episode in Tough 23 was Amanda Bobby Cooper. So if you watch that episode, it was extremely difficult for her to make 115 pounds, and she actually weighed in at 117, so she had to cut a pound and a half, and she was already pretty emaciated looking. I mean, so it was really difficult. But one of the most recent and outspoken voices in the strawweight division in the UFC about making a flyweight division was Valerie Letourneau, and she has voiced how extremely difficult it is for her to make 115 pounds. And recently she actually said that if the UFC does not make a flyweight division, she will think about retiring and going and doing something else, because it's really hard on her body to get to 115 pounds, because she's not a strawweight, she's a flyweight. And it also makes sense from a financial standpoint, and this is why. Because essentially, to fill in that flyweight division, you could pull a lot of fighters from the strawweight division who are already signed with the UFC. So you don't have to fill that division with brand new fighters. You can pull probably half of the strawweights up to flyweight, and then you could sign some new ones into the strawweight. But I mean, you could at least have half of the division there, already. I don't know if that's the case with featherweight and bantamweight. I don't know how many bantamweights are going to go up to featherweight. We don't know. So far, only 2. Chris Cyborg, eventually. So you got 3. But right now, there's been many fighters who said that they will move up if given the choice. Joanne Calderwood, Valerie Letourneau, Amanda Bobby Cooper. I believe Jessica Andrade would move up to a flyweight. So I think it's going to be harder to fill that featherweight than it is to fill the flyweight. So financially, I think it makes more sense. So in conclusion, I will say on a positive note, it is great that the UFC is at least adding another female weight division, be it featherweight. So now they have 3. What that shows is it shows growth in the UFC for the women's divisions. But again, in my opinion, I think flyweight makes more sense. So hopefully they have some plans in the future soon to make a flyweight division. Possibly, maybe they'll do another tough tryout like they did with, Tough 20 to bring in the strawweights. So maybe they'll do another one of those and then crown a champion at the end, which I think makes sense because you can knock out 2 birds with one stone. You can do a whole nother season of The Ultimate Fighter. So you already got your plot right there. And then at the end, you already got a whole new division. So it's a win-win. I guess for now, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, once again, I am D. Allen. Thanks for watching Women Throwing Leather. Those are my thoughts on the newly created featherweight division. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, you guys are awesome.